You know, if this is going on in your life, and it's such an unfortunately common situation, I just want you to know that I am so sorry for you. I know how difficult this can be. So your spouse has had an affair with one of his employees, and I know he's saying that it's over, that there's nothing else going on, but you're just not sure about that. You've got some real concerns, some real fears that it might be going on, and you don't know what to do. Well, first thing I need to tell you is, of course, there is a possibility that there is something still going on. If it's anything other than extending and deepening a loving connection, an intimate connection that you actually have already created outside of the bedroom, then again, she's probably not going to be very interested. She's more than likely to pull back. I found that most women experience it that way. The other thing that is good news, though, here's the good news in this situation. Most women are actually very interested in being engaged in sex if they feel truly loved and cared for, if they actually already feel close to you. It would be completely reasonable for you to see this situation as something that has to change. I can completely understand why you'd want this gal, if she's still working in that situation in his workplace, to be fired, let go, some way out of the situation. However, without having to force that issue, I'd like to propose to you a different place to start, a different way to approach this issue with your husband. The first thing I want you to consider, and this may sound just a little bit radical to you, and it may be hard from the hurt place that you're at, but to actually see if you can take the time to understand how he is feeling about what happened and about the situation. To try and understand why it is that he actually isn't interested in doing whatever it is that you want him to do that will make you feel better. And see if you can do that without judging it. Now, you can always come back to the point where you look at what he says and you say, hey, honey, this isn't working for me. I don't like that solution. But I want you to consider first understanding and wanting to care about his emotions, his desires, his needs, prior to trying to force your agenda. Now, I know sometimes I deal with women in this situation that are saying, hey, with what he did, he doesn't deserve that kind of caring. The problem is, if you take that approach, what you're going to find, if you don't make his feelings important also, in addition to yours, not that his feelings are more important than yours, but that his feelings are important in addition to yours, that both of them matter. You're going to find that even if he agrees to do what you want on the surface, the likelihood is that somewhere else he's going to be resisting. He may do it on the surface, he may go through the motion, but his heart's not in it. And I wonder in the long run, is that really what you want? Generally speaking, I would think not. So I want to see if I can give you a couple of steps that you can walk through to try and help you resolve this situation. Hopefully to a point that you feel good about it and that he feels good about it. So the first thing I want you to do is this. Actually take a little time on your own to sit back and think about what is it that you're feeling. What is it that you're wanting? And why is it so important? What's really involved in this for you? What are the fears, the insecurities, the pains that are involved? And I want to encourage you to take as much responsibility for those as you can. And here's why. As long as you make all of those feelings your husband's responsibility, and for you to feel better, he has to do this, that, or the other, you will continue to feel as powerless as you're probably feeling right now. And what I'd like to see for you is that you get to experience actually once again feeling empowered, feeling some sense of power over your own well-being, not so much at the mercy of what he does or doesn't do. And the only way that I know to do that is for you to be able to take that power back. And you do that by saying, these are my issues, these are my fears, these are my insecurities. What can I actually do to make this different? What can I do to feel better that requires him to do nothing? Now understand, I'm not saying that it's unreasonable to ask your husband to participate in making this feel better for you. I absolutely think that he's got some responsibility in that, because the well-being of the relationship and your ability to feel safe with him requires that he actually cares about how you feel and cares about how his behavior affects you. But I'm asking you to consider taking the time to take back your power and be looking for every possible way you can to have your well-being be at your control, in your control, dependent upon things that you yourself can do. And so often we don't realize just how many ways we can do that. So if you're feeling afraid, insecure, because now your whole world has been turned upside down because of his behavior, it's a good idea to take a little time to say, okay, now are there some things that I could do to make myself feel safer in this relationship, regardless of what he does? Are there ways that I haven't been watching out for myself, taking care of myself, caring for myself in the past that have been exposed because of the affair? And begin to look for those things, care about those things, make those things matter to you. Now, it's going to be reasonable at some point in time for you to ask him to make those things matter to him. I mean, why would you want to be open? Why would your heart want to be completely open and engaged again with him if he doesn't give a rip about how you feel? So to expect that someone that you want to be close to would care for your feelings is very reasonable. But you don't want to be in a position where if he doesn't care for your feelings, nobody cares for your feelings because you're not caring for your feelings. So that's where you start. That's number one. Number two is, like I said a few moments ago, you take the time now with that knowledge in hand to go to him and try and understand how he feels about the situation. If he doesn't want to fire her, for instance, ask him why. But from a place of curiosity where you actually really want to know, not why. Why do you want that? What's wrong with you, you idiot? But really from the place of, actually it's hard for me to understand because, how I feel about this, it's hard for me to get this, but I got to believe that there's a reason you don't want to let her go. Give him the benefit of the doubt for the moment. Help me understand what it is about keeping her that's important to you. Because if it's really important to you, and I can feel comfortable with it, then I'm willing to consider it. Now, I say that carefully because then you go to the next step. You've now taken the time to understand how he feels and what he wants. And now comes the final and really important step. Recognizing that you two are on the same team. And that when you're on the same team, both of you have to win or nobody wins, because you can't have one of you winning and one of you losing when you're on the same team. Teams don't work that way. So whatever solution you come up with has to be one that both of you like. And I don't even want to go to the point of saying it's just something you can both live with. There's ways in which you can take this to the point where the solution is something that you're both thrilled with. That, you walk away thinking, I can feel okay about this. And he feels, I can feel okay with that too. But where it needs to start is both of you knowing that your feelings are being understood and cared for, because coming up with a solution is really hard. It's a real hard effort until both people feel understood and cared for. Feeling that their feelings will matter, that their wants and their needs and their desires will matter, and that the other person isn't willing to try and force them into something that they don't like. So I want to encourage you to provide that for him, and it's completely understandable, acceptable, and maybe even essential for you to ask that of him. That you would say, honey, I get that this isn't working for you the way I'm suggesting it, but it's really not working for me the other way. Please, for the sake of our relationship, for the sake of our marriage, as evidence that you care for me also, not just you, could we please try and work this out in a way that both of us can love? When you land there, there's a way in which the process of getting to that itself can be an incredible step of healing in a situation that, as I said earlier, I know is very, very challenging. But I want to tell you, I've seen relationships come through those kind of situations stronger than they ever were before, because there's a way in which this tends to take people to a place when you handle it well, that they encounter each other's emotions and that they actually begin to care about each other, and in this case, hopefully you care about yourself with a love, tenderness, sensitivity that was never there before.